Okay, I gotta go back to it now. But,
Good evening, Peter.
How are you, Jerry?
All right, how you doing?
I'm doing all right.
Good.
Ariel, you're going to do those motions?
Sure. Mark, you wanted to take one? You want to take the one that you offered up, or should I just do both of them?
No, you can do them all.
Okay.
You do them both.
Yes.
Have they been circulated?
In the minutes.
They are in the minute. I don't
Or in
think
the, I'm sorry, not in the minutes, in the agenda.
Did we get that?
I presume you did. I get it differently than you, so I don't want to say one way or the other.
I don't. Huh.
Hi, Ariel. Hi, Peter.
Hi, Mike. Good to actually see your face and not your bandana.
Yes. Well, that was when Ty was in my place as me. Hi, Jerry. Hi, Mark, Jason, Rachel, Michaela. Hi. Is that everybody? I don't know if I see everybody. Oh, and and Tiffany Brown. Ty is on.
Yeah, I can't seem to get video. I've been on it twice before today and I've gotten it. So I'm starting back again.
Mike?
Good evening, everybody.
Hey, Ty.
Hey, Ty.
Could I have some water? Thank you. Hey, Alec.
Hi.
I don't know how.
Thanks. Ariel, yes, they're on the agenda too. They're clickable. Everything in
Ariel,
there.
you have to unmute yourself.
Can you put them in the chat maybe? Because I didn't
Ty,
see them.
they're gonna. Ty, we're working that out. Ty is
Oh,
gonna
okay,
have
great.
Yeah, this has already
Okay.
been discussed for. Yeah. Hello, Mark's cat. Hi, Suzanne. Hi, Hildegard. Hi, Joanne. Rick. Hi, Angelica.
Hello.
Hi, Megan. Megan Flynn is on mute.
We can see them for some reason.
Hi, Van.
No,
Hi.
just tell them how
you doing?
trouble. Can they see it? Ask them if they can see us.
I've lost the picture. You can see me?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay. What? Where'd the picture go?
The idea is all they have to do is cast enough doubt so that the black male voter says, yeah, they're all racist.
This is general board meeting, Bridget.
Yeah. I'll resend the invite to you if you want, but
We have to
aren't
go
you on
out.
the panel? I mean, she's on the panel. I checked it this morning.
Tell them.
I'm gonna close out. Here we go. Got
Hey,
it.
everyone.
There we go.
There we go. Thank you.
Barron Trump had COVID as well.
Wonder where it was trending.
Because he had COVID too. I really think that the Biden campaign could have a commercial saying Trump is going to protect your son as well as he protected his son.
Hey, Mark, you got very hairy.
Are we on mute?
Well, I'm still very hairy either way.
Can't get any audio. I can't get any video.
All right, Bob, we can hear you.
Yeah, but I can't get any video though. I'll just listen.
I'm just as beautiful as I always am, but other than that, there may or may not be much to look
I
at.
can see you. You can't see me. That's all.
Isn't it great we don't have to sign in?
There you go.
That is
And we
true.
can sit and eat while you're talking. Well, I can because you can't see me.
Think of all the paper we're saving on the agenda.
There you go.
Yeah.
The Green New Deal.
Amen.
By way of CB6.
Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez would be proud of us. Anybody have any sense of whether we have a quorum yet?
How many people do we have so far? 1, 2.
Certainly looks like we got a minion.
Here.
All right, well, David. Karen, cool.
Somebody at Grand Central?
Okay, we are at. No, we're not there yet.
Hi. Hi.
Hello.
Whoever's saying hi.
It's Bridget.
Okay.
Hi, Bridget.
Glad
Hey,
to see
Peter.
you.
I'm gonna mute, okay? And
Sure. Yeah, everyone remember, if you want to speak, remember you have to unmute, which means that you have to get rid of that red line through your microphone. You do that
Or
up
just hit the
either
space
at the
bar.
top or the bottom of your screen.
Or just hit the space bar.
Okay. I'm on my iPad, so I don't
No, you
have
can't
that
do
option.
that there. No, I know.
We're going to wait till like 6:40 and then we'll get started.
Is it just me, or does anyone else feel like Captain Tom?
Unless you think I'm not paying attention, I'm texting with Mike so that we can get through this. So
What? No, just kidding.
I said, lest you
No,
think
no, I'm just kidding. I wasn't paying
I am
attention.
dilly-dallying. I am texting with Mike so that we know what we're going.
Yeah, I was just kidding.
Okay, looks like it's time.
I'm trying to get video. Worked this morning. Been on two other.
Here is our discussion 7A.
Don't worry.
This is also listed in the discussion section, and you have 20 minutes to complete this. Dog is also very loud.
Jerry, long as we're waiting for anybody, what are they building next to IKEA? Those little square towers.
The square towers are elevators, shafts, and stairways. It's going to be a mile end, last mile warehouse. Not sure who the final tenant will be.
Okay, thank you. I figured you'd know.
Good evening, everybody.
Hey, Leroy.
Oh, Leroy.
Hello, Leroy.
Good to
Yeah,
see
good
all you
evening.
guys.
Hey, Leroy, good to see you.
Good to
Yes.
see everybody.
Yes,
Good evening,
for
everybody.
sure.
That's me. You can't see me, and I don't know what. I'm trying every possibility.
You may be logged in on the wrong link, whoever's having trouble with their video, because I think there's a general one and then a panelist one.
Oh.
An idea
Okay.
for.
Hi, everyone. I think I'm in.
Hey, Neil.
Okay, so I'm just in.
Okay, it's 6:40, so we're going to get started. Welcome, everyone, to the first and probably not last Community Board 6 Zoom meeting. Lest you think that we've abrogated our responsibilities, there honestly, up until now, hasn't really been anything to vote on. Mike and I talk, usually several times a week by phone or by chat. We've sent out some letters in support of, a variety of things since March, things to do with the schools, with the upcoming rezoning in Gowanus, and other issues, usually pointed out to us by the chairs of those respective committees. So I encourage any committee chair, if you have an issue that you think the community board needs to take a position on, to bring it up to Mike. He'll bring it up to me, and I don't think I've turned him down yet on something that he that he wanted to do. On the subject of the rezoning, the city has informed us that they believe that it will be certified in January, or at least that the process will begin. The Department of City Planning is coming to the Landmarks and Land Use Committee meeting on October 22nd. I urge anyone who is interested in that to get on that Zoom call and listen in, even if you do it, while you're doing something else on mute, just to begin to refamiliarize yourself with what's going on. Obviously, a lot of time has passed. We have no idea how much the city has changed things. So we're just going to have to sort of see what happens. Other things that are going on, we have some new board members we have had since, I don't know, June or July. They are Michaela Balderston, Natasha Ahmet, Rebecca Cobert, Tiffany Brown, and Alec Sharonbeck. Some of those people have already participated in some of our meetings and things like that, and we welcome them. I also think it's appropriate that we take at least a minute to remember, since we haven't seen each other in quite some time, many of us have lost loved ones, over this period of time. Bob's wife passed away, Bridget's mom passed away, and the entire community lost Buddy Scotto, who passed away in September. And we're working with Brad Lander's office on a street co-naming. I think it's just a matter of figuring out what street it's going to be. So we hope to have more on that probably at our November meeting.
What does the phrase "devoid of social content" mean? Because I get the feeling that it means that people do not care the consequences of how they manage water. That's the impression I'm getting.
Is somebody speaking to me? Okay, obviously not. We've also had, as some of you know, Kathy Price, who was the chair of our Human Services Committee, left the community board to take a position on a mayoral appointment on an education committee that gets input from parents and things like that on a whole wide variety of education issues. We wish her well in that new position, but unfortunately it required her to resign from the community board. So I've asked Tiffany Brown to be the new Human Services Chair, and she has agreed to do that. She's eager to get started, and hopefully, we'll be able to have more committee meetings. We've had some meetings of economic and waterfront development and landmarks and land use by Zoom. And if committee chairs have issues that they want their committees to consider, let Mike and Ty know, and we'll try and set up a Zoom call for you, and we'll go from there. I ask, if you're not speaking, if you please make sure that you're muted so that we don't hear your side conversations. Other than that, I think that's, oh, well, and once again, Jason Reichel will do the election-related stuff. We have an obligation, according to our bylaws, to appoint, suggest new members of the executive group. And he'll make his report beginning tonight so that we can complete the process in a timely manner. We expect, unless you hear otherwise, to continue to meet by Zoom on a monthly basis because, even though, this is not over by a long shot, we expect more issues to come to our attention. And as I said, I encourage any committee chair that has an issue that they want to take up to let Mike know, and we'll, if, at the very least, we'll write a letter. If not, we'll try and put it on an agenda and have a Zoom committee meeting, and we'll go from there. I know we're joined by a couple of elected officials, but I know Bobby Carroll is here. So if he wants to speak so that we can let him get on with his life, I would invite him to do so now.
Thank you, Peter, and good evening, Community Board 6. It's great to be back with all of you. I wish it was in person. But obviously we are still living through COVID. And I'd be remiss if I didn't add to Peter's in memoriam of all of those folks in the greater Brownstone community that we lost was my predecessor's predecessor, somebody who I knew my whole life, Joe Ferris, who I'm sure many of you knew. And if you didn't know him, helped found the Park Slope Civic Council, helped found the Cortellia Road Neighborhood Association, served in the Assembly representing Park Slope, Windsor Terrace, parts of Sunset Park and Gowanus for a decade, and he passed away due to COVID-19 this summer. For many of you, if you live in District 15, it is possible that your son or daughter's school was closed last week due to the COVID hotspots in parts of southern Brooklyn. This is a huge, huge issue. And I am not happy with how the governor or the mayor handled this issue. I think we're one large community here in Brooklyn, and we need to either have precision-based, highly specific closures, or we have to do broad-based closures. What the governor has done is neither. He's closed lots of schools and businesses where there is no community spread, while also not drilling down to try to identify the specific actors and institutions who are flouting social distancing guidelines as well as other health guidelines and trying to remediate that situation. And so we kind of have a worst of both situations. We have lots and lots of folks who were flouting rules, still flouting them. And we have lots and lots of folks whose schools and businesses had no detectable COVID-19 in them closed and not with any metrics to say when they'll reopen. So I've been talking to lots of parents, lots of businesses about this. Most of it, none of it currently is in Community Board 6. It's mostly in Community Board 7 that's dealing with it, but obviously they are adjacent to one another. But if you do have an issue or a concern with your son or daughter's school or anything that's going on, if you have a small business, while we try to work through these COVID guidelines this fall, please do not hesitate to reach out to me or my office. This is of the utmost importance because obviously this is going to be a long fall and winter, and we need to get through this together and with cogent guidelines that we can all follow. And currently, neither the governor nor the mayor are very cogent or forthright with their guidelines so that businesses, schools, and others can follow them and understand how to comply. And I find that very, very frustrating. On a just very broad note, obviously the city and the state are under mass budget constraints. We will need to raise revenue. I really hope that Joe Biden is president of the United States and we have a working federal government that realizes they need to help bail out our state and local governments. After 9/11, New York City got upwards of $20 billion of federal aid for our state and local governments and our small businesses. We need something similar to that. But that in and of itself will not close all of our gaps. We will need to raise revenue in places that can most afford it. We will also need to make some cuts. I don't think those revenue raisers or cuts will come until the first quarter of next year. The way the governor has basically maneuvered, there is some borrowing that I believe he will do in the next few weeks after the election to see whether he thinks who is president and who will be the majority leader of the US Senate. And then he will act accordingly, and then the legislature will follow. With that note, if anybody has any quick questions, I'd love to try to answer them, but I know you guys have a packed agenda.
Anyone? Okay, thank you, Bobby.
Thank you, guys. Have a great night.
Thanks, you too. So one thing I forgot to mention is that if you've been down 4th Avenue, you've perhaps noticed that they expanded the bike lanes they had stopped them at a certain point and added that extra lane for traffic purposes. I honestly can't recall, and Eric, perhaps you know more about this than I do, but I had thought that that was a commitment that the Department of Transportation had made to keep that extra lane. And I would have thought that they would have, unless it's because of what's going on, that they didn't come to the community board to tell them that that was going to happen. But it's obviously happening. It's already done in pretty much all of the, we asked them to continue it. Okay, see there, I did not know that. So, okay, I've learned something.
There you go.
Okay, great. We're going to do, before we go on to the motions we have, we're going to do the elections report from Jason.
Hi, it's good to see everyone's face. It's been months. I'm looking forward to when we can start doing this in person. And I'm really surprised that it's time for elections already. So the current exec board is running for re-election, but if anybody else is interested in running over the next month, please drop an email to Mike, and I'll put this in the chat as well. It's mike@bkcb6.org. And you can nominate someone else or nominate yourself. And then next month, we will have elections for the exec board.
Well, the voice votes. Like you can nominate someone like voice, and if there are no challengers, the current panel the current slate of officers stays on.
And if there is a contested race, that voting will be done in December. And if that occurs, we will figure out how to do what needs to be done, because it needs to be a paper ballot, sadly. A pre-COVID.
Yeah. Well, I think we'll do like a Google. I think we'll do a Google survey or something, if that were to.
Yeah, we just need to have a record of how each person voted. So but we'll figure that out. But we'll take it from there. So we do actually have two motions from Economic Waterfront Community Development, Housing. So Ariel, I think, is going to tell us about those.
Or do you want me to go?
Remember, you have to unmute, Ariel. Good.
Mike's going to do his report.
Do you want me to do me before?
Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize.
No, it's fine.
I apologize. That's great. Mike, let Mike go ahead. District Manager's report.
No problem. Hi, everybody. Nice to see everyone in semi-person. I never thought I'd miss meeting in like a school auditorium, but I do. Anyway, just a few quick items. I've been talking with most people about committee assignments and things like that, any various shifts, especially our new members. I want to first congratulate Tiffany Brown for coming on as our Human Services Chair. I've been working with Tiffany Joan at her Warren Street at Warren Street in the tenant election. She's fantastic. I think she'll add a great perspective to the executive committee. So congratulations there. And Peter mentioned letters we've been writing and things like that and taking positions. We took one just recently, as recently as yesterday, on Red Hook trucks.
Please remember, if you're not muted, we can hear your cross conversations in the background.
Thank you.
Not a big deal. I'll put it in there.
Hey, Mike, can't you mute everybody?
Yeah, I think so, but.
Or Ty, can you do it?
Whoever the host is, they should be able to mute everybody.
I don't know.
Thanks.
Okay, now I'm the host officially.
Yeah, so
now I
mute
think I can. Oh, I can mute. Oh, I can. Okay, good. I can mute everybody.
There we go.
Okay. I'm trying to
Just remember, if you want to speak, you have to unmute yourself.
Sorry, Suzanne. I just muted you to prove a point. To see if I could do it. Okay. All right. I think. No, there we go. Okay. Somebody still. It's not me.
The FBI said that foreign enemies will try to spread disinformation to undermine the election.
What is?
Okay, we can hear someone's television in the background.
Oh, here we go. Mute all.
It's Bridget.
I'm
Oh my God. Okay. So can you still hear me? Give me yes. Okay. Thank you. So speaking of things we've written yesterday, Eric McClure attended the Resilient Red Hook meeting on CB6's behalf, and Peter and I had talked about it prior. And Hildegard, our very own Hildegard, who is our environmental protection chair, co-chair with Angelica Ramdari, asked for a comprehensive traffic study for truck traffic in Red Hook because, and I think someone was mentioning it while we were not on mute, all the various development sites that are going on in Red Hook and coming up, and, you know, like an Amazon site and UPS and these things. And, you know, while they're looking at them in isolation, these are going to come online over the next, you know, few years. And, you know, the consequences are going to be tremendous. And we, I think, as Red Hook is part of the larger Community Board 6 district, certainly matters a great deal. And I think that the people at Resilient Red Hook, including Hildegard and Alex and Jim Packets and so many others, have done a great job, and they brought it to our attention. I think we're going to put it, and I was talking to Ty about this earlier, in our district needs assessment later this month. So thank you. I think Hildegard's on here, but I can't see everybody at once, so thank you. And also, and just one other thing on the committee stuff. So I messaged with Glenn, who I know just recently returned from Europe, that we'll have a parks meeting next week. And I think we're going to try to get an environmental component to it, and a public safety / transportation on October 29th. I'll be sending out more notices. But again, this is the 6th time, and it's happened under the Racioppo Fleming reign, if you will, that every committee is going to meet this month once again. And that's actually, in the time that CB6 has had these committees, it's only happened 6 times, and it's happened in the last year and a half. So that hopefully those meetings happen, because I, you know, don't want to jinx anything. But because we were supposed to meet in March as well, and that obviously didn't happen. So anyway, the other thing was that I know I've been getting a lot of questions about elections. Early voting starts October 24th, and I did text with our new female district leader, Jessie Pierce, who was going to jump on to give us a heads up on some of the stuff regarding the Board of Elections, and that she said that if you signed up for a class, be sure to attend, but there was a big volume of people signing up, so they're all full. So if you haven't heard back, it's because they're packed. But they are also offering online classes. I know Karen is actually teaching. Karen Broughton, our board secretary, I think, is attending and teaching one as we sit here. If you have an absentee ballot, you can drop it off at any site, and any voting site. There's like a box for that, and any Board of Election site. And for Brooklyn, that is 345 Adams Street. I don't know if you've ever been to the Board of Elections. It's a pretty not fun place. It makes the DMV look great. But that's basically it. And if you want to sign up, again, thank you for everyone who signed up for the newsletter. It's actually, I've felt a lot of appreciation doing it, and it feels great. It's kept me at least closer to sane during this whole period, so thank you. And if you want to sign up for it, text BKCB6 to 22828, or go to brooklyncb6.org and sign up for it. And that's my spiel for the night. And I'm going to try to unmute everybody now. There. I think it's all unmuted now. Is Peter on?
I am now.
I hear you, Peter.
So I apologize. One thing I forgot that I did, and I just did it yesterday, was that by merit of my position as chair of Community Board 6, I am on the board of the Pacific Park Conservancy. For those of you who don't know, Pacific Park is the new or formal name for the Atlantic Yards projects. So it was just business as usual. We elected a new treasurer, approved the budget for the coming year. But you know, there are 2 buildings under construction, and as each building comes on, if there's another building next to it, The open areas are joined to each other, so they've got
Monet.
a good plan. I was not aware that
Come
that
here.
I was on the
You want a cookie?
that I was on the board. We are hearing you.
I muted her. I think.
Okay. You know, I was not aware that I was on there, but live and learn. So it's apparently the first time they've invited me to the meeting. So that would explain why. But I will participate in the future, and I'll bring you any information that comes. But you know, the group is functioning. You know, they have a budget. They are taking care of the properties. They're have money for landscaping and for cleanup, and they're going to be ordering some new furniture for next year. Some of them are not in Community Board 6, but some of them are. So if you have you know, an inclination to wander over in that area, there is some public space, and you know, it will be growing as more buildings are developed. So now I guess we're going to go to Ariel, and she's going to present the two motions that came out of economic development. Ariel, you have to unmute. Mike, do you have to do something for Ariel to unmute? Sorry, you're still muted.
Number one says, stand 5 feet.
Ariel, there should be something on your screen asking if you want to unmute.
I've gotten those, so I don't know if they were supposed to go to Ariel instead. I keep getting these
It
pop-ups.
went to everybody.
Got it.
You got it?
Thank you.
There we go.
Are you being
We are-
selective in your choice of
Not at
unmuting?
all. I'm trying to be as democratic as possible about this.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me? Everyone hear me? I guess a thumbs up if you can. Okay, good. So we've had 3 economic waterfront community development and housing meetings by Zoom. And the last one in beginning of October was what sort of came out of the earlier one in July, which was, or actually in June, when there was one of the letters that Peter was, he referred to a number of letters that went out. One of them was in support of the commercial lease assistance program prior to the budget getting passed. It was not included in the budget, and then a number of things happened, an article in Cranes. I don't exactly know what happened, but Joni Clutter, who is the commissioner of the Office of Administrative Trials and Hearing, otherwise known as OATH, was involved in that. And Mike, who's involved in everything, got a letter of thanks from her, and she agreed to come to our committee. And just as a side note, at the end, the CLA, Commercial Lease Assistance Program, was reinstated in the budget, in fact. And the reason that's sort of a segue to our October meeting is that that had to do with a mediation between landlords and tenants. And what Joni Clutter came to speak to us about, and she brought her deputy commissioner, Marissa Senego, and the director of the city's Office of Nightlife, Ariel Krasnow. They were coming to promote the MEND NYC, which is MEND stands for mediating establishment and neighbor disputes, which is essentially through, mostly about hospitality issues between neighbors and a business, and they're starting to do between businesses and their landlords as well. So I think in some ways, it would have been really great for that to have been a joint meeting with permits and licenses, because it had a lot to do with some of the issues that permits and licenses deals with. And essentially, it's a very new department that started right before we went into lockdown, and what they do is they, instead of just going straight to some sort of enforcement because someone has called in a lot of complaints to 311, the idea is that they will mediate between the two parties who are unhappy. So I urge everyone to either watch, I think it looks like it's posted, the entire meeting was posted, but also there are notes that you can review. Joni didn't have a presentation, but between the three of them, it was quite it was an inspiring presentation about how we can do business differently. And I think, and at the end of their presentation, Mark suggested that we do a resolution to support MEND and to continue funding for it into the future. So it's a paragraph. I don't know, I'm not sure if everyone has this, if the board members received it or not, or if I should read it. Any direction from me on that?
Go ahead and read it. It's not that late, so we still have some time.
Brooklyn Community Board 6, upon recommendation from the Economic Waterfront Community Development and Housing Committee members and chairs, would like to go on record in its support of MEND NYC, mediating establishment and neighbor disputes. This valuable new initiative from Oath's Center for Creative Conflict Resolution is critically needed during this difficult time as restaurants and bars fill the streets, and as long-term resources for future, and as a long-term resource for future mediation. Brooklyn Community Board 6 regularly works to resolve disputes between hospitality businesses and their nearby residential neighbors, and we are familiar with the strife that this can cause. The goals of MEND to seek a genuinely conciliatory solution will be an enormous benefit to the community board and will help to ease disputes between residents and businesses and improve the general quality of life in our neighborhood. We are in favor of the continued financing and expansion of this program, and if it's approved, it will be signed by Peter, Rick, Mark, and myself.
So let's try and do this the easy way. We're going to assume that you're in favor of this motion unless you signify by, either saying in the chat or unmuting yourself and saying so that you're against it. So I'll give you a minute or two to do that if you wish, but otherwise we're going to assume that everyone is in favor of the motion.
God bless you.
Thank you. So any objections?
Hello, this is Mark Shames.
Yeah.
I have no objections, obviously, because I made the motion. But what I would like to do is give the chair of the Permits and Licensing Committee an opportunity to indicate whether she wishes to sign on to the letter, since MEND has a tremendous impact, particularly on those kinds of small businesses. We took it up in the Economic Waterfront Development Committee because it is a small business matter, but it is also very relevant to permits and licenses. So I would like to know if she would like to be a signatory on the letter as well.
Rachel, you can just do thumbs up or you can unmute yourself. Still muted.
Oh, okay,
There we go.
There we go. That sort of counts.
So again, this is a motion to state our support for this program and our desire to work with them, on anything where we can be of assistance for matters that occur in our community board. So again, no objections. So let's move on to the next motion.
Okay, the other presenter was John Sanchez, who is the district manager for Bronx Community Board 6. And he came to our attention because of a piece that he wrote in The Gothamist about every district carrying their weight in terms of affordable housing, and particularly in terms of new development and affordable housing. And he came to us with a very thoughtful presentation that actually compared our Community Board 6 in Brooklyn with his Community Board 6 in the Bronx. His board being his district being much, much smaller, with a significantly lower median income and far more affordable housing in terms of the affordable housing that has been built through the city's affordable housing, program at HPD. So one of the things that he focused on was a number of ways in which additional affordable housing can come to the city, but he was particularly interested around the issue of accessory dwelling units. And so there are three different ways in which the city could change some of its rules and regulations in order to allow for additional units to occur. And these would be units occurring primarily in existing buildings with some amount of change, as I said, to either the zoning, to the codes, and the rationale is for this to be safe, in some cases to make what is already an existing condition safe and regulated, and then also to allow for, in some cases, particularly out in the outer boroughs, there's the ability for homeowners to actually increase their income through doing this in a way that would be regulated and overseen by the city. So there's a lot of information around this, and this at the end of his presentation, Alec and our committee had suggested a motion, and the motion, which he also helped me write, was is to support three of these conditions, and it's a little bit more lengthy. So I could read the whole thing, or I could just go to the three main the main programs that we're talking about.
Yes, that would be a good idea.
So these are strategies, really, and let me just read the three of them, and if you have questions, you can certainly ask. So we support, this is against the CB6 through the recommendation of the EWCDH committee. We support a range of ideas that the city has already considered, including the basement apartment conversion pilot program, which is one of the accessory dwelling unit programs. And we urge the city to study and implement the following approaches to provide more housing for all New Yorkers. The first one is to renew funding and expand the basement apartment conversion pilot program. This valuable program, on the verge of assisting the creation of many units of badly needed affordable apartments in a district that is deeply in need of affordable housing. The pilot program was specific to, I believe it was Queen CB5. It was one particular district, and it was very coordinated through HPD with a lot of rules, and had a whole system of how you would go about getting your basement converted. So it was a pilot program, but when under the pandemic, it was defunded. So we are asking, that was a sideline. I'm going back to the resolution. In agreement with numerous community groups on the front line of housing assistance within their neighborhoods, we recommend that funding for this program be renewed and expanded. The second item was to legalize apartments. The city should reevaluate zoning and other regulations to, first off, allow for legalization of thousands of apartment units that already exist in New York City and which should be regulated and made safer. And B, promote the creation of new affordable housing options through reforms such as rescinding laws that currently ban apartments within single-family zoned areas, particularly when located near public transit. Obviously, that is not part of our district. We don't have any single-family zoned areas in our district. However, this is partly in reaction to, because we, as a part of the city, so this is in support of citywide initiatives as well. The third item is to promote accessory dwelling units. The city should investigate and institute legislation that would allow homeowners to create accessory dwelling units. These are small, affordable apartments in converted garages, backyards, and inside private homes within the existing context of their communities. accessory dwelling units could impact our district, and there could be situations in which this could be beneficial to both homeowners and to renters and potential new tenants. So I'll just finish while I'm at it. These reforms have been adopted by other jurisdictions in recent years, other areas outside of across the country, I should add, in recent years, and provide a model to guide our own city's efforts. Particularly at this time of tremendous increased stress on homeowners and renters, it is critical to reassess and redefine regulations that further stress the housing market. As the pilot program demonstrates, there are many modifications to zoning rules and other codes that could benefit New Yorkers across the city. We have witnessed, with recent emergency relief measures that allow businesses to operate outside, that the city can move quickly and efficiently to alter long-held regulations previously accepted as being difficult to change. So this is a request for the city to look into alternative means of getting more legal, affordable housing units. There's a lot more to be said about each of these initiatives, and I think Alec and I are putting together, there's some of those, we have links to certain, some studies that have been done, and we can certainly send more information out if people are, would like to look further into these initiatives.
Great. Any questions for Ariel? Remember, you have to unmute.
Hi, yes, I did have a question. I'm not sure if this is exactly the right forum for it, but there was, I actually attended the Zoom meeting last time in regards to the basement conversion. It was supposed to be for affordable housing. Are they regulating how much the homeowners can charge for those basement apartments?
Yeah, I saw you, that was one of your questions. I saw that, and I looked into, I did see that, and I actually went to I wasn't as familiar with that program, but it's regulated the way affordable housing is. So but I will, similarly to affordable housing, you can get, you are at a certain mandated income coming in, but your income then doesn't matter once you have a lease. So I believe that there were regulations around that, but let me confirm that. I don't know if Alec, I know, has also done some research in this. So if Alec has a definite confirmation on that, feel free to chime in.
Because I have noted, even on the affordable housing website, they tend to block off a majority of the apartments in decent neighborhoods, you would say, for a certain economic group, and is usually over $80,000. So right.
Yeah,
so
I'm not sure how. I know it was regulated. I know you couldn't do, because part of the pilot program was you received funding to help actually do your conversion. You could receive funding. You could actually apply for funding to actually do all the legal work around it. And as a result of it, like any affordable program, you are required to rent at a certain limit. I don't know what that limit is, though.
Okay.
So I guess the thing to do will also, any details that Ariel is able to get, we'll have Mike put them in his newsletter. But by the same token, we'll assume everyone is in favor of this motion. If you're against it, please either unmute and say so, or post a comment to that effect.
David had his hand up.
Yeah, I just have a question, and thank you. Sorry about the back and forth of Ty and Mike about unmuting me. Ariel, this is very specific, but in the first one, you're mentioning basements, and is that term being used generally or in the zoning sense? Because there's a difference between a basement and a cellar.
Yeah, no, these are basements that are legal by code in the Department of Buildings would be able to sign off on these apartments. They have light, they have the correct amount of light, air, and egress.
Got it. So it is the legal definition of a basement.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Any other comments or objections?
If I could just weigh in, David, yeah, my understanding is that with the basement pilot program, they kept virtually all of the usual rules, like a basement has to have half of its, ceiling height above ground. They modified a couple with respect to like windows, and I think they might have lowered the requisite ceiling height, but it's not like a technical cellar could be occupied, for example.
Great, thank you.
Joanna? Can you unmute or no?
Hello. I was hoping that maybe the letter could include some mention of the climate reasons behind doing this as well. There's a mention about transportation, which is great, but just to be a little more explicit that it's not just about affordable housing, it's also about increasing density for climate change reasons.
Actually, a lot of the literature does speak to the
Okay,
increase in density, and I can include that.
Yep.
The highest score we have available.
Great. So we'll say that we're in favor of that motion. Before we go on, we've been joined by a couple of elected officials. First, if State Senator Kevin Parker wants to make any remarks, please go ahead. Make sure you're unmuted, please.
Oh,
I don't know if
okay.
he's trying to unmute or if he's.
All right, I'm unmuted now.
Okay, great.
And good evening, everyone. I'm State Senator Kevin Parker, represent the 21st District. I'm the Majority Whip in the New York State Senate, as well as the Chairman of the Energy and Telecommunications Committee. My staff person, Peter Weiss, is also on the call as well. But let me just say a good evening and hope everybody finds themselves well and healthy, and your families, in addition. There's so much kind of going on right now. The sense is right now, at one point there was a conversation about possibly going back into session. My sense is that we're probably not going to go back into legislative session until the new legislative session in January. In part, there was, we were kind of hopeful that there would be a federal response to the deficits that we're seeing on the city levels, and that there would be some conversation about how we address those issues in the, or how we kind of figure out the budget stuff. But we think that most of the budget stuff can actually wait into the new budget season. And so although the city and the state are both in deficit, there are things that are not going to cause major service interruptions between now and then. Now, this may in fact change, but in this moment, what I'm hearing is that we're, generally, as okay as we can be, kind of under the circumstances. Obviously, the big news is the hot zones, particularly in Brooklyn and Queens, and the fact that we really need to, do a lot more about being vigilant around testing, people wearing masks, about not congregating, about social distancing, and really kind of continue to remind ourselves and our communities that we're still in the middle of a global pandemic, and that Brooklyn at one point was literally the global epicenter of that pandemic, and we could easily be back at that place if we let our guard down. Until we get a working and viable vaccine, we're probably going to be kind of in this moment, and so we must continue to kind of again be vigilant about all the things that I've just talked about, and the things that we all have been doing in order to keep ourselves safe. My office is going to be doing, as you know, October is breast cancer awareness month. We're going to be doing free mammograms coming up on next week. And then we also are going to be doing free flu shots as well. And I'll have more details about that coming up next week as well. And so my office is open. Only have one staff person in the office. The best way to kind of reach me is either by phone or by email. And I'll put the number in the chat, but the number is 718-629-6401. My email is parker@nysenate.gov. Again, it's parker@nysenate.gov. And you can also find me on social media at Senator Kevin Parker. And so good news that today, actually just this evening, the governor signed my bill into law that creates Juneteenth as a state holiday. So very excited, very proud about that. And it was a long time that we've been working on that legislation. So, you know, it's good to get it across the finish line. There's kind of so much more that we need to work on in the state. And so looking forward to getting back into session during, past the holidays. I don't know if people have questions or comments or concerns. I will actually obviously yield to the chair about whether he wants me to answer any questions, but I'll be on the line.
Anybody has one, go ahead, just one or two. Okay, hearing none, thank you very much, Kevin, I appreciate it. We're also joined by State Senator Brian Kavanaugh. Is he still on? Remember, you have to unmute yourself.
Okay, I was saying host was not allowing me to unmute myself, but now apparently I've been allowed, so that's great. Everybody can hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, first of all, thank you to all the board members, to Peter, to Mike, and everybody for coming together tonight and for giving me a few moments to interrupt your proceedings. I was on earlier, I guess, as a spectator, so I heard some of your conversation about accessory dwelling units. Just a few sort of announcements and updates. First of all, the election is less than 3 weeks away. Of course, I am not going to comment on who one should vote for in this governmental nonpartisan setting, but just to note that there have been a lot of real problematic issues with ballots. Many people got improper absentee ballots. If anyone who is, any of the board members or anybody who's watching tonight did receive a ballot that was incorrect in the wrong envelope addressed to the wrong person, the best instructions are not to return that. And the Board of Elections should be proactively mailing out corrected ballots. We've been trying to, address the ongoing question of why that occurred, but at this point, people should get a ballot. That you should be getting a new ballot. Those were supposed to have begun going out by this past Friday, October 9th. If you have any questions, or concerns about that, you can contact your elected officials, my own office, or certainly Senator Parker's or others that represent you, and get some assistance making sure that you get the proper response from the Board of Elections. Also, obviously, there's going to be expected high turnout and in difficult circumstances because of COVID, because of lots of mailed ballots. Our system is not really designed to deal with high volumes of mailed ballots. We had just last year amended the Constitution so that large-scale mail-in balloting would be permitted. But what we're doing is an emergency thing now that we passed just for the purpose of addressing COVID. The best advice is that if you can vote in person, if you are comfortable voting in person, that is probably preferable. And of course, early voting is an option where you're voting in person and your ballot is counted, is fed into the machine on site when and where you vote. That begins Saturday, October 24th. So, again, people should, exercise their right to vote, and again, preferably do it in person unless your, immune system is compromised and you're avoiding public spaces. Obviously, COVID has caused great, hardships in many areas. One area is that small businesses really are suffering. We're going to need a number of strategies for that on an ongoing basis. But one thing that my office has been pushing is called the Small Business Recovery Lease Act. It's a bill that we're working on with. I've got Assemblymember UJOEANN is the assembly sponsor. UJOEANN New is the Assemblymember sponsor, and we have Keith Powers and Brad Lander of the council. We've been working on this, and basically it would be the state legislature would authorize the city to link long-term property tax abatements with long-term affordable leases, recognizing that many tenants are going to have trouble paying their rent, and at some point that's going to be reflected in property values and ultimately in taxes. So rather than waiting for that to happen and landlords and tenants and commercial tenants having to figure it out, we would create this opportunity. Again, it requires state authorization, and then the city would adopt it and fill out the specifics. We've been doing a lot of outreach and gaining a lot of support on both legislators in the state and the city council level, and we're, it's ongoing effort. I agree with Kevin Parker's assessment that we do not seem to be going back to legislative session very soon, but we are, continuing to work on this as an important tool. I'm happy to take any questions or comments about that. I chair the housing committee. We've been focused a lot on fair housing, housing discrimination. Last year, Newsday did an extraordinary set of investigative journalism around ongoing discriminatory practices in the Long Island housing market. We've had now 2 hearings on that topic, and by all accounts, it is not limited to Long Island, and it is also not limited to the sale market. There's also a lot of issues in the renter market. So we've taken a lot of testimony. The Senate took the unusual step of subpoenaing everybody who declined to testify at the first hearing, and actually we went before a judge during the hearing to compel testimony from brokers and other participants in the real estate market who had been on tape engaging in questionable practices. The second hearing is now done. We've got a broad legislative package that is intended to strengthen our state's laws against discrimination. Happy to talk about the details of that. And the committee will be putting out, the committees, I'm doing this jointly with 2 other committees, but we will be putting out a report on our findings and our recommendations soon. In the meantime, COVID-19 obviously has had a very large effect on not only the commercial tenants that I talked about, but on residential tenants and landlords. So the biggest short-term tool we have to ensure the stability of housing has been the eviction moratorium. We began pushing for that immediately at the beginning of the pandemic. And we have had a comprehensive, thorough, complete blanket eviction moratorium statewide through September 30th. The governor had extended an eviction, an executive order that enabled the eviction moratorium. It was widely covered in the press as continuing the moratorium through December 31st. It does indeed extend to December 31st, but it is unclear from what is currently in place that it actually will have the effect of preventing any evictions. It does appear from the executive order and then from the court's interpretation of it, which came out just this past Friday, that they will be resuming eviction matters. And although evictions may come slowly, especially for people who are represented by counsel, that there may be some evictions that will be able to get through in this system. That, from my perspective, is an enormous problem. We're still in the midst of a pandemic, and it is inappropriate, in my view, for anybody to be evicted from their home at this point. So we've got legislation that is intended to address that. I've got a bill that I carry with the Assembly Judiciary Committee Chair, Jeff Dinowitz, that would extend a blanket moratorium through January 20th. There's a broader bill by Senator Myrie and Assemblymember Karina Reyes that would extend the moratorium much further. I'm a co-sponsor of that bill and a supporter of it. But either way, I think the right thing would be for the governor to continue the strongest possible moratorium. But if not, I think the legislature really does need to step in and mandate that. If you or anybody who's contacting the board or anybody who's listening tonight is facing eviction, the city's helpline might be the best place to start, 311, and they still are referring people to legal assistance, and many of the legal assistance providers are waiving the normal income requirements that are usually restrict people from getting access to that. And if you're in my district or we can be helpful, feel free to contact our office directly as well. I'm going to be brief on this, but the longer term thing is we are going to need rent relief. So the eviction moratorium and a bill we've already passed called the Tenant Safe Harbor Act should prevent most people from being evicted, both now and in the future. The Tenant Safe Harbor Act says that no unpaid rent during this period can ever be the basis for an eviction. But we obviously don't want people with unpaid rent hanging over their head long term. We don't want landlords not to have the resources to maintain their buildings. But so we've pushed, there are 2 approaches on this. Again, I've been pushing an approach that would basically pay the rent of anybody who's had any difficulty paying their rent because of hardship during COVID. That will require a very substantial amount of money. There is also the cancel rent approach, which also the current version of that is intended to be funded with large amounts of money that would compensate landlords for lost rent. But in either way, it's going to be very difficult to do that without federal assistance. So we've pushed very hard for the next stimulus bill to include rental assistance. I have gotten some assurances that if there is in fact a rental assistance, a federal relief bill, that rental assistance will be high on the list of things that are likely to be in it. But of course, we know that the negotiations on that really have started and stopped and are currently seem to be stalled. But it's very important that we continue to advocate for that. A couple of other brief updates. BQE has been an enormous issue the last couple of years. The repairs that are necessary, the initial sort of repairs that are intended to shore the thing up until we can come up with a longer term solution are underway. We've been having conversations about the wall on Hicks Street and the effect of that on the local community. In the meantime, we're also working on a bill that comes out of one of the proposals that the panel of experts came up with, which is to give New York City the necessary tools to enforce overweight truck restrictions. The best way to do that would be to have them be able to use sensors that are in the road and cameras to identify overweight trucks that are going over certain spans of the BQE and issue fines as they find them. So we've got a bill that we've worked on. We've been amending it and negotiating with the city and our colleagues about how to do that. And again, this is something I hope we can get done upon returning to Albany, whenever that may be. Kevin Parker talked a lot about the need to continue to be vigilant about COVID-19. I do represent some communities that are in the kind of elevated level category, but none that have reached the point where we're doing proactive shutdowns of businesses and schools and other things. But we're monitoring that closely and working with test and trace and news outlets and to get the word out. And again, the community board can play an important role here. If the board or any organization you know of needs additional PPE, sanitizer or masks, we can provide access to that directly. We can provide deliveries of that. We have a fairly good supply that we can access through the state. So again, that's something that if people still need it, we're happy to provide, and we've been doing that regularly. I know you have a long meeting, and obviously I could probably cover other issues, but I think I'll stop there. And I'm happy to take questions if you have them, or go back to your previous agenda.
Thank you, Brian. I appreciate it.
Yep.
Last but certainly not least, we're joined by almost Senator-elect Jabari Brisport, who will be taking the seat currently occupied by State Senator Bowman at Montgomery.
Hey everybody, and thank you, Mr. Fleming, and also Mr. Racioppo for having me here and letting me into the meeting and setting me up. And hello to my colleagues, my future colleagues, Senator Parker and Senator Kavanaugh. I'm excited to get to work with y'all. And hello everybody. So Jabari Brisport here will be taking over for the incredible Senator Montgomery in just a few months. I'm really honored and proud to be able to step into the shoes of this district and fight for this community. Born in Bed-Stuy, grew up in Prospect Heights, and aside from politics, I'm currently a public school teacher in Crown Heights at a middle school called Medgar Prep. And I love my kids. And, if anybody wants to talk about education and what's going on with school reopenings and the current situation with schools, I'm happy to. Probably not right now, because I'm sure we'll be here all night, because I'm sure many people have comments and concerns to share. But I'll put my email address in the chat to follow up in case you have any concerns. I'm excited to be able to fight for things that I saw as issues in my community, being the incredible disinvestment in working class people, the amount of money flowing into corporate elites and the richest people in this state, rather than funding our schools and hospitals and, good solid jobs and affordable housing. I'm excited to fight for a New York that truly works for all people, not just the wealthiest few political donors or real estate cronies that want to align our politics with their best interests. So again, I'll put my email in the chat for y'all to reach out to. I'm excited to represent you and work with Community Board 6 and the various people of this district. And I'm sure I'll be seeing you all in the community soon. Thanks again.
Thanks, Jabari. I appreciate it. So now we're going to hear from representative of elected officials, and we're going to begin with Dan Wiley, who represents Congresswoman Nydia Velasquez. Remember, you have to unmute.
All right, hi. So
yeah, Congressman Velasquez has been pretty busy with going back and forth like a yo-yo to the Hill, being a conferee negotiator on relief packages, and it's been like whiplash trying to get another relief package through. She supports the district. They're not called back to DC again yet, but she's been pushing hard for getting real aid to folks and businesses and forgivable grants as well. Also, I know that the rezoning is coming up on the 22nd. I'll attend that on the Gowanus, and we're going to be very interested to see how CSOs won't be coming back to Gowanus in a bigger way with more development. I know there's a lot of talk of density to get affordable housing, but at the same time, it can't come at the expense of the Gowanus cleanup, which we see a lot of work going on right now. And I know that the city is delayed in its plans for the sewer overflow tanks. So we have yet to see how well the city is going to address the existing combined sewer overflow, let alone what would happen with 18,000 more people put on the system. So we're going to be, the Congressman is actually going to be meeting with the regional administrator tomorrow to discuss what's coming up, and we're going to be following it very carefully. Also, we echo your need for a truck study, and in fact, a need for more implementation of traffic safety measures for pedestrians and bicyclists throughout the waterfront district, including to the north through Red Hook and through Sunset Park. We've had some recent tragic crashes where bicyclists have died on 3rd Avenue just to your south. We're trying to expedite better crossing some of the connectors that connect the communities to the waterfront that crosses where the Greenway is. And of course, we're glad to see some improvements that have happened on 4th Avenue, but we also have to extend those to other parts of the district. So with that, I just want to say it's good to see everybody, and carry on.
Thanks, Dan. Next, we have Megan Flynn from from Councilmember Brad Lander's office.
Hi, everybody. It is very nice to Zoom see you all again. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Megan Flynn. I'm the Director of Constituent Services and Community Affairs for Councilmember Lander. And I handle most of the constituent service ongoings and these meetings at CB6. So a couple updates we have for you with everything else going on. There are a couple just more district-wide updates. We are still doing PB this cycle, so this will be our 10th cycle, which is very exciting, a little different this time around than it has been in previous years. But if you have an idea you would like to submit for PB, you can submit it at pbnyc39.com. If you're interested in being a delegate, a volunteer, getting involved, definitely let our office know. We're definitely looking for more people to help and get involved. As Senator Kavanaugh mentioned, we have been hearing from a lot of people that their ballots haven't been addressed to the person to receive them correctly. If you're experiencing any issues with an incorrect ballot received, you don't know where to early vote, you don't know where your poll site is, feel free to reach out to our office and we can direct you there, and I can help you get the ballot the ballot that's an error canceled, and a new one, the BOE will overnight it to you. As the Senator also mentioned, we're working with our colleagues at the state and Councilmember Power's office to get authorized at the state level the Small Business Recovery Lease Program to incentivize landlords to renegotiate their leases with their commercial tenants. And we know this is sort of a longer term solution, and there are a lot of very short term problems coming up right now. We definitely are working to support the small businesses. And if you have any other questions or any concerns in the district, I'll put my email in the chat and you can feel free to email me directly. It is lovely to see you all.
Thanks, Megan. Oscar Jonas from State Senator Belmont Montgomery's office.
Can everyone hear me?
I can.
Okay. Just a little quick report. Senator wanted to make everyone aware that we have some newsletters coming out. Those of you who reside in her district will get them automatically. Anyone who's interested in it, I'll be glad to send me an email, ojonas@nysenate.gov. I'll be glad to forward it to you. Just spotlights on legislation of the past year, some programs and information on early voting. That doesn't work with the green screen background. Additionally, we have this new pamphlet, and the pamphlet is regarding New York State Human Services Report and Directory, which highlights various human services, be it youth services, housing, and others. If anyone is interested in a copy of this booklet, I'll be glad to make sure it's mailed to you. Just contact Oscar at Senator Montgomery's office, and I'll be glad to. And thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
Thanks, Oscar. And then we have Taika from Scott Stringer's office.
Hi, everyone. It's great to be back here at Community Board 6. For those who don't know me, my name is Taika Haraguchi. I am the Brooklyn Borough Liaison for the Comptroller. I just wanted to give a few brief updates on some of the latest work that our office has been doing. This actually may not be widely known, but the Comptroller's Bureau of Labor Law enforces prevailing wage and benefits for construction and building service workers employed by contractors on any city public work projects. So while companies on these public contracts fail to pay the proper wages and benefits, our office enforces the law to recover the money owed to workers and ensures that they receive the money owed through outreach. So in light of COVID, we decided to take extra measures to ensure that these wages are returned. We hosted phone banks, Know Your Right workshops, with the results that since March, our office has returned over $2 million in unclaimed wages to over 100 workers. We are still continuing our outreach efforts. So if you can think of a group or an organization that you would like for our office to link up with so that we can actually give a presentation on prevailing wages, I will put my email in the chat and then you can just reach out to us. The next two things I'll briefly mention will have to do with the school reopening. Obviously the situation is a little bit touch and go right now, to say the least, but we released a report called Strong Schools for All, a plan forward for New York City, and it offers a set of recommendations to safely reopen New York City schools for fall 2020 amid the pandemic. So just in an effort to accelerate the process, our team at the Comptroller's office worked with experts in the field to develop this plan, which includes ensuring the safety for students and educators based on the latest scientific protocols, reopening schools with as much in-person instruction as possible, providing transparency about transmission status within the schools, as well as improving the quality of any remote instruction that remains necessary. And I will put that report in the chat as well. Another education-based proposal that we put forth was a first of its kind bike to school plan for New York City high school students. Our office called on the city and philanthropic partners to provide free bikes and city bike memberships to lower income high school students and to build 1.5 miles each of protected bike lanes around 50 New York City high school buildings within the next year. 18% of high school students walked or biked to school in 2015, down from 23% in 2009. And 40% of these high school students attend a school within their home district and 83% within their own home borough. So with cuts to MTA transit services, school buses operating at limited capacities, and the continued need for safe social distancing, our bike to school proposal offers a sustainable, safe, and healthy transportation option for the city's young people. And finally, today, our office proposed a free tuition at all CUNY community colleges and overhaul of New York City's workforce development strategy. So essentially, our office outlined a comprehensive plan that will leverage CUNY to upskill New York City's workforce and compete in the global economy, and essentially create a jobs pipeline from CUNY to uplift communities in New York City. So the workforce development plan includes tuition-free community college, a universal paid internship program for CUNY students, more career and technical education in early college high schools, and expansion of certified apprenticeship, subsidized wage, and bridge programs, and more. And I will put that report also in the chat. And really, finally, the last thing, October 28th, our office is hosting a Community Board 6 roundtable at 6 p.m. Obviously, there's, as was mentioned before, there's a lot to discuss in Community Board 6 with ongoing and upcoming issues. So if you'd like to attend, please email me and I will put the email in the chat, but we'd love to hear from you. You can pre-submit questions to our office. So we'll make sure that we get back to you. And this is a great forum in order for our office to get a good dialogue with the community. Thank you.
Thanks very much. And last but not least, Jason Shelley from the New York City Fire Department.
Hey guys, good evening. My name is Jason Shelley from FDNY. I want to thank Mike and Peter for having me tonight on the occasion of October being Fire Prevention Month. And so just a quick update on some things we've got going on at the fire department. We've got something called the Fire Safety Education Unit. You may have seen, these are folks who are out in the community, often tabling. Sometimes they do demonstrations for students, for seniors, things like giving away fire alarms and doing fire safety education. Obviously with COVID, a lot of that had to go online. And so we retooled and have created a digital portal with a lot of videos, some aimed at children, some aimed at adults. And I'll just give this website, and I'll drop it in the chat later too. It's called fdnysmart.org/connect. And there's a lot of different things on there, from cooking safety to electric safety to things for children, planning, activities about planning, have an escape plan. So if you're a parent or you're around children and are looking for resources, it's generally bite-sized short clips, 8 to 10 minutes, firefighters giving instructions and talking people through fire safety. There's also some links on there where you can request a specific demonstration. You can get in touch with us. If you're in a school, you can get in touch with us. I don't think we're doing school events yet, but that's something that once, as we move forward, that may be something that we'll get back up online. We've had great success over the last decade or two in New York City in terms of fire safety. Fire deaths have trended down. We had 66 total fire deaths last year. That's the 14th year in a row we've had under 100 deaths. And we've really tried to target vulnerable communities, at-risk communities. The causes for fire deaths in the city, top 3 causes were electrical problems, cooking, and smoking. And so we try to target those issues and help people understand how to be safer. But again, that's fdnysmart.org/connect. And there's an email address there that you can request a fire safety demonstration yourself. I'll put both of those in the chat afterwards. And then we'll just close it out with reminding you to, when you change your clocks, change your batteries. And coming up on, I think it's November 1st, when you change your clocks, make sure you change the batteries and your smoke alarms. We'll keep everybody safe. So thank you guys very much.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it. We have 2 speakers for community sessions. The first is Lauren Avellino from Methodist Hospital. Please remember you have no more than 3 minutes.
Hi all. Hi Peter. Hi Mike. Thank you guys for having me. Hi CB6. Just a couple of notes. My name is Lauren Avellino. I'm the manager of community affairs at Brooklyn Methodist Hospital here in the neighborhood. I just want to say thank you to the community and to Community Board 6 and our neighbors for all the support, especially during the height of COVID-19. In terms of, we've seen a resurgence of of COVID. The hospital has not yet been hit with higher numbers of COVID positive patients, as we might expect from the resurgence in different areas in Brooklyn. A few updates that I wanted to give you all about the hospital. We have the Center for Community Health, the largest construction center, the largest ambulatory center of its kind in Brooklyn is opening soon in February 2021. So thank you for Community Board 6's support on that. Thank you, Eric, for chairing our construction task force. So I'm going to pop in the chat more information about the Center for Community Health. As Senator Parker mentioned, October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. We will be doing a breast cancer community Zoom education session with Dr. Vivian B., who's our Chief of Breast Surgical Oncology. I'm going to pop that in the chat. There are other free community educational lectures via Zoom that we're doing one on heart health tomorrow in collaboration with Good Neighbors of Park Slope and also Heights and Hills. So that will be in the chat. Also, I do want to let you know, hello pups of CB6, I do want to let you know that we have partnered with the Brooklyn Chamber of Commerce to help fund small business grants, and Mike has been good enough to put it in the CB6 newsletter. I am going to put the links to that in the chat. Businesses can apply to get free deep cleaning services for up to 6 months and also personal protective equipment. We haven't seen a lot of applications from Park Slope. We've only seen 2 businesses in Park Slope. I was actually canvassing the neighborhood with the chamber on Friday. So please spread the word. Again, I'll put the links in the chat. And I think that's it. There's plenty of other free events and support groups happening at the hospital. And if anybody has any questions, feel free to chat me. I'll be sticking around for a little while. And thank you for having me.
This, by the way, is Monty, who joined our family on Saturday. He is a 10-week-old Havanese puppy that we picked up in Niagara Falls on Saturday morning.
Peter's got a 10-week-old dog.
He is a bit of a handful, but he is learning what he can do where and what he can't. So I just wanted him to be able to say hello to everyone, and I'm now going to put him back out of the room. And as I do that, I'm going to introduce our second community session speaker, which is Chaim Gross from New York City 2030.
Did he leave?
He's back out. Chaim, if you're still here, you have to unmute yourself.
Hello, I don't know if I can be seen, but I hope I can be heard.
You can be.
I can be, great. I put in the chat, and I'll put in the chat again, the link to our information. My name is Chaim Gross. I'm from the New York City 2030 district, and I'm campaign director for the Heat, Cool, Smart Brooklyn program. We are promoting green retrofits in community districts 2 and 6. We're supported by Brooklyn Borough President, funded by NYSERDA, and what we are doing is confronting climate change house by house and building by building. There are plenty of incentives and opportunities to upgrade your building, remove those dirty fossil fuel burning boilers and replace them with electrified heating and cooling systems. We also want to insulate and air seal and make the buildings more energy efficient. We can offer free energy audits for 1 to 4 family homes and low cost audits for commercial spaces, multifamily buildings. There are tremendous incentives from Con Ed and NYSERDA to make the switch from dirty heating to clean heating and more efficient cooling. I see Angelica there, who's a colleague of mine at Solar One. Hello. We are also trying to, how you doing? We're trying to match you up with other technologies like solar. If you want to do a green roof, if you want to do passive house, we could talk to you about that. But our program is primarily to promote energy efficient and clean heating and cooling. Let me see if I can put there it is. So you can reach us at heybrooklyn.org or contact us at hcsb@nyc2030.org. Thank you, Michael, and thank you, CB6, for giving me a chance to speak. And I really hope that after we can defeat the pandemic, we can defeat climate change.
Thank you very much. Did I miss any representatives of elected officials that are here that want to speak? That's not my dog. Okay, does anybody have any other comments or questions to make before we adjourn the meeting? I will ask that, this is obviously our first attempt at doing this. So if you have any suggestions for improvement, please let Ty and Mike know of anything that you can think of. I know Glenn Kelly had some problems with audio, but they appear sadly to have been on his end and not ours, since everybody else was hearing fairly clearly. And we do have, one second. We do have Jesse Loesch from JOEANN Simon's office, who would like to say a few words before we go. Remember, you have to unmute yourself. We're still not hearing you, sadly.
Well, hi, this is Joanne.
There you go. Oh, there you go.
So when you said Jesse, I thought she was going to say something. So anyway, I just wanted to say hello and participate for a bit in your inaugural meeting on Zoom, and just tell everybody to get out and vote. There's nothing more important that we could do this month and next month, actually, or starting on the 24th, is to get out and vote. Vote early, vote by absentee, get those absentee ballots in right away. And certainly if you need anything, to reach out to my office at 718-246-4889.
Thank you, Joanne. Anybody else? Hearing none, again, thank you very much for participating. If you have any suggestions, people have different experiences with Zoom, and if you have anything from other groups that you're involved in that you think might help us to a more efficient process, we'd love to hear from you. If not, we will see you in the middle of November. Yes.
This is Leroy. Is it possible for our next meeting? I know because we don't have not able probably to get the minutes, but can we get at least the motions emailed to us so we can have those, so we can read them? Because I know some people couldn't understand the motions as they were being said because of the audio.
Sure, we'll try to get those out the morning of the meeting, unless it's possible to get them out sooner, but we will absolutely do that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for that suggestion, Leroy. Anyone else? I cede the rest of the evening back to you all. Thank you very much for joining us. Stay safe, stay healthy, be well, and we'll see you all soon. Take care.